Chapter 1. Empty Walls. The silence of the orphanage was a constant companion to Britney. It wasn't a peaceful silence, but one filled with echoes of laughter that wasn't hers, of stories whispered at bedtime that weren't meant for her ears. The walls, painted a sickly shade of yellow, seemed to absorb the emotions of the children within, leaving behind a hollowness that mirrored the one in Britney's chest. She didn't remember her parents. They were faces in a photo album passed around by well-meaning volunteers, their smiles strained and unfamiliar. The orphanage staff spoke of them in hushed tones, a tapestry woven with words like abandonment and tragedy. Britney understood only that they were gone, leaving a void that no amount of donated toys or sing-alongs could fill. Days bled into weeks, weeks into months. Each morning brought a fresh wave of hope, a flicker of recognition in the eyes of a visiting couple. But hope, like a dandelion puff in the wind, would scatter at the slightest disappointment. She watched, heart clenching, as other children were chosen, their faces lighting up with a joy that was foreign to her. One particularly dreary afternoon, huddled beneath a threadbare blanket with a book about faraway lands, Britney overheard a conversation between two caregivers.
Poor thing.
One sighed.
8 years old and never been adopted. Who would want a child from...
Her voice trailed off. Britney didn't need to hear the rest. The unspoken words hung heavy in the air, a confirmation of the fears that gnawed at her. Was there something wrong with her? Was she unlovable? Tears welled up in her eyes, blurring the fantastical creatures in the book. She squeezed her eyes shut, wishing with all her might for a family, a place where the walls wouldn't echo with loneliness, a place where love bloomed instead of emptiness. The years that followed were a blur of routines and goodbyes. New faces arrived, filled with hope, only to leave with the same dejection etched on their faces. Britney learned to mask her own longing, burying it deep beneath a facade of quiet strength. She found solace in books, devouring stories of adventure and love, a world far removed from the harsh realities of the orphanage. One crisp autumn day, a new face appeared at the doorway. A woman, her hair streaked with silver, eyes crinkling at the corners with a warmth that sent a jolt through Britney. Beside her stood a man, his face etched with worry lines, but his gaze holding a kindness that resonated deep within her. The woman knelt before Britney, her smile as gentle as the sunlight streaming through the window.
"Hello, dear,"
she said, her voice a soothing melody.
"We're the Harrisons. We've come to take you home."
Britney stared at them, a flicker of disbelief flickering in her eyes. Home? Could this be real? The knot of longing in her chest tightened, a mixture of fear and hope threatening to overwhelm her. The woman reached out, her touch as soft as a feather.
"Come,"
she said, her voice laced with a love that resonated within Britney's soul.
"let's go home."
For the first time in her life, the cold, empty walls of the orphanage seemed to shrink, the silence broken by the promise of something new, something beautiful. Stepping out into the sunlight, hand in hand with the Harrisons, Britney knew, with a certainty that warmed her from the inside out, that her life was about to change forever. Chapter 2. Love Takes Root. The drive to the Harrisons' house felt like a journey through a foreign land. Britney, clutching a worn teddy bear named Patches, pressed her nose against the car window, her senses overwhelmed by the sights and sounds beyond the orphanage walls. Rolling green hills replaced the sterile concrete jungle. Houses with flower boxes replaced the towering brick monolith. The house itself was a modest two-story affair, with peeling paint and a porch swing swaying gently in the breeze. It wasn't grand, but it radiated a warmth that tugged at Britney's heart. As they stepped inside, the aroma of freshly baked cookies filled the air, a stark contrast to the institutional smells of the orphanage. Mr. Harrison, who Britney learned was called Tom, enveloped her in a hug so tight it momentarily squeezed the air out of her lungs. It was the first embrace she could ever remember feeling, and it sent a wave of emotions crashing through her. Mrs. Harrison, who introduced herself as Sarah, placed a plate of warm cookies in front of Britney, their chocolate chips melting into little puddles of sweetness. The following days were a whirlwind of firsts. Sleeping in a room that was all hers, decorated with a hand-painted mural of a fantastical castle, meals eaten at a table filled with laughter instead of silence, and evenings spent curled up on the couch with Sarah, listening to stories about her childhood on a farm. Tom, a carpenter by trade, patiently helped Britney put together a rickety bookshelf, his calloused hands surprisingly gentle as he guided hers. Sarah taught her how to bake her signature chocolate chip cookies, the warmth of the kitchen a stark contrast to the sterile dining halls of the orphanage. There were moments of awkwardness, of course. Britney, used to keeping to herself, struggled to adjust to the constant questions and worried glances. But Tom and Sarah met her anxieties with patience and understanding, their love a constant balm. One night, tucked into bed under a quilt sewn with colorful squares, Britney confided in Sarah.
"Do you think they'll send me back?"
She whispered, her voice thick with fear. Sarah tucked a loose strand of hair behind Britney's ear, her eyes brimming with tenderness.
"Honey,
She said, her voice soft yet firm.
we choose you. You're our daughter now. You're home."
Britney held onto those words, repeating them like a mantra in the quiet darkness. Gradually, the walls that had encased her heart began to crumble. Tentatively, cautiously, she allowed herself to believe that this love, so unexpected and unconditional, might be real. One Saturday afternoon, while Tom was away fixing a leaky roof for a neighbor, Sarah and Britney were rummaging through an old trunk in the attic. It overflowed with faded photographs and dusty journals, remnants of the Harrisons' past. Britney stumbled upon a collection of children's books, their pages filled with colorful illustrations and well-worn from countless readings.
"These were Tom's when he was a boy."
Sarah explained, a nostalgic smile playing on her lips. Britney gingerly picked up a book about a brave knight rescuing a damsel in distress. It felt oddly familiar, a connection she couldn't quite explain. As she traced the intricate drawings, a memory flickered into existence. A woman, her hair the same silver as Sarah's, reading the same story to a little girl with bright, curious eyes. The memory was fleeting, a wisp of smoke, but it was enough to plant a seed of hope in Britney's heart. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't entirely new. Maybe, somewhere deep within her past, there was another flicker of love, another connection, waiting to be rekindled. Holding the book tight, Britney looked up at Sarah, her eyes glistening with a newfound sense of belonging. This house, with its peeling paint and creaking floorboards, wasn't just a place. It was a home, filled with love that was taking root, slowly but surely, in the fertile ground of Britney's once empty heart. Chapter 3. The Scales of Justice. Years melted into a comforting routine. Britney thrived under the Harrisons' love. Tom nurtured her curiosity, encouraging her to explore the world through books and weekend trips to historical landmarks. Sarah fostered her empathy, instilling in her a deep-seated sense of fairness and a desire to help those in need. School became Britney's sanctuary. She devoured knowledge with a ravenous hunger, excelling in every subject, but it was history and law that truly ignited her passion. The stories of past injustices, the intricate legal battles fought to uphold the rights of the downtrodden, resonated deeply within her. One afternoon, while researching a project on historical trials, Britney stumbled upon a case that sent shivers down her spine. It involved a young girl, abandoned by her parents, who had been shuffled through a broken foster care system. The details mirrored her own experiences with an uncanny accuracy, leaving a raw ache in her chest. That night, huddled under her quilt with a law textbook in her lap, a newfound resolve bloomed within her. She wouldn't just read about justice, she would fight for it. She would ensure that no child ever had to navigate the system alone, feeling lost and powerless. As she progressed through high school, her passion for law only intensified. She devoured legal journals, participated in mock trials, and volunteered at a local legal aid clinic. The courtroom, once a place of distant authority, became a symbol of hope, a platform where the scales of justice could be tipped in favor of the vulnerable. Tom and Sarah, ever supportive, encouraged her dreams. They helped her navigate the application process for law school, their pride swelling with each acceptance letter she received. Finally, the day arrived. Britney, a young woman with a fire in her eyes and a heart brimming with compassion, stepped onto the hallowed halls of a prestigious law school. Law school was a whirlwind of late nights studying case law, heated debates in seminar classes, and the constant pressure to excel. But Britney thrived under the pressure. She found a community of like-minded students, passionate about fighting for the voiceless. She honed her analytical skills, learning to dissect complex legal arguments and craft compelling defenses. One particularly grueling semester, Britney found herself struggling with a particularly knotty legal case. The professor, a renowned legal scholar known for his scathing critiques, had assigned a case involving a child custody battle. Sleep-deprived and overwhelmed, Britney presented her argument, her voice trembling slightly. But as she delved deeper into the case, a fire ignited within her. She saw her own past reflected in the details of the case, the pain of abandonment, the fear of being lost in the system. Her voice grew stronger, her arguments more persuasive. When she finished, the classroom fell silent, the weight of her conviction hanging heavy in the air. The professor, his usually stoic face etched with surprise, broke the silence.
"Excellent work, Ms. Harris,"
he said, his voice gruff with respect.
"You not only grasped the legal complexities, but also injected a profound empathy into your analysis. That, Ms. Harris, is the mark of a truly exceptional lawyer."
Britney's heart swelled with a mix of relief and pride. That day, she knew she wasn't just studying law. She was preparing for a life dedicated to fighting for justice, one case at a time. The scales of justice, once a symbol in a dusty textbook, now represented the unwavering purpose that guided her every step forward. Chapter 4. A Gilded Cage. Across the city, in a world as far removed from Britney's as the stars from the pavement, lived Josh Lawson. Born into a life of unimaginable wealth, he inhabited a gilded cage, a world of sprawling mansions, sleek limousines, and endless social gatherings. His father, a self-made billionaire, had built an empire from the ground up, his ruthless ambition reflected in the towering glass and steel skyscrapers that dominated the city skyline. Josh, heir to this vast fortune, was everything a young man in his position could be: handsome, intelligent, and undeniably charming. He had a smile that could disarm the most hardened cynic and an easy charisma that drew people in. Yet, behind the mask of effortless charm lurked a deep-seated cynicism. His childhood memories were a tapestry woven with cold marble floors and echoing hallways. His parents, consumed by their pursuit of power and prestige, were emotionally distant figures. His mother, a socialite known for her impeccable taste and icy demeanor, saw him more as an accessory than a son. His father, a workaholic obsessed with building his empire, treated him as a potential successor to be groomed, not a child to be cherished. The one bright spot in his childhood had been his grandfather, a man who built his wealth through hard work and humility, a stark contrast to his son. The old man, with his weathered hands and twinkling eyes, had instilled in Josh a sense of compassion and a love for history. But his grandfather's passing left a gaping hole in Josh's life, a void that the glittering world around him could never fill. As he grew older, the parties became monotonous, the flattery hollow. He surrounded himself with yes-men and sycophants, their shallow conversations leaving him feeling utterly alone. The women who flocked to him were drawn to his name and his wealth, not the person beneath the designer suits. Love, he concluded, was a luxury the privileged couldn't afford. It was a game of manipulation and power, a charade he refused to play. Josh, burdened by the weight of his inheritance and disillusioned by the world he inhabited, retreated further into his gilded cage. He threw himself into work, becoming a skilled businessman in his own right, but the fire in his eyes had dimmed, replaced by a cynical detachment. He was a man surrounded by everything, yet truly possessing nothing. A king in a gilded cage, yearning for a freedom he couldn't quite define. Chapter 5. Shattered Facade. The biting November wind whipped around Josh as he exited the towering glass and steel building that housed his company. He was on his way home, a hollow feeling gnawing at his stomach. A grueling board meeting had left him drained, the endless discussions about profit margins and market share failing to spark any sense of purpose. He hailed a cab, the familiar city lights blurring into a neon kaleidoscope as they sped towards his luxurious apartment on the top floor of a prestigious high-rise. As he entered his opulent residence, an unsettling silence greeted him. The usual immaculate state of the apartment was marred by a single, overturned vase lying on the plush carpet. His mother, Eleanor, was known for her meticulousness. Every object in the apartment was meticulously placed, a testament to her desire for control. The sight of the fallen vase sent a jolt of unease through Josh. He called out for his mother, his voice echoing in the vast emptiness of the living room. Following a trail of soft music, he found himself at the entrance to his parents' bedroom. The door was ajar, a sliver of light spilling out onto the hallway floor. Hesitantly, he pushed the door further open, a scene unfolding before him that shattered the carefully constructed facade of his life. His mother, Eleanor, her usually perfectly coiffed hair askew, was entwined with another man on their marital bed. The man, younger than his father, had his back to Josh, a smug smile playing on his lips. The sight of his mother, the woman who embodied cold elegance and decorum, reduced to such a state of dishevelment, filled him with a sickening wave of betrayal. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The air crackled with unspoken emotions, the infidelity as blatant as a neon sign. Eleanor, catching sight of Josh, froze, her face draining of color. But it was his father's absence that truly disturbed him. Where was the man who built an empire on ruthlessness and control? Was this betrayal somehow orchestrated? Another power play in the Cold War between his parents? Josh felt a primal rage ignite within him. The carefully cultivated cynicism that had been his shield crumbled, leaving him exposed and raw. This wasn't just about his parents' fractured marriage. It was a stark portrayal of the hollowness at the heart of the world he inhabited. The money, the power, it all seemed meaningless in the face of such raw betrayal. He turned and left the room without a word, the image of his mother forever etched into his memory. The gilded cage that had protected him suddenly felt suffocating, its bars a symbol of the emotional neglect and disillusionment he had endured for so long. As the elevator doors closed behind him, Josh knew his life, his carefully constructed world, would never be the same again. Chapter 6. Chance Encounter. The midday California sun beat down mercilessly, transforming the bustling Los Angeles streets into shimmering mirages. Britney, sunglasses perched precariously on her nose, clutched a canvas tote bag overflowing with art supplies. She navigated the throngs of people with practiced ease, weaving through tourists and dodging skateboarders. Her destination, a quiet corner of Griffith Park, a haven for inspiration and solitude amidst the urban sprawl. Britney wasn't seeking fame or fortune with her art. It was her escape, a world of vibrant colors and swirling emotions poured onto the canvas. Today, however, her usual tranquility was replaced by a gnawing restlessness. A recent creative block had left her canvases blank, the vibrant hues refusing to translate from her mind to the artwork. Reaching the park, she found her usual spot, a clearing beneath a sprawling oak, its branches offering dappled shade. Unfurling a worn blanket, she spread out her supplies, the familiar scent of paints and turpentine momentarily grounding her. Yet, the spark remained elusive. Lost in frustrated contemplation, she barely noticed the figure approaching until a shadow fell across her makeshift studio. A young man, his brow furrowed in concentration, was sketching in a worn notebook. He had tousled brown hair and kind eyes that crinkled at the corners, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. He wasn't intrusive. His presence held a quiet respect for her space. Intrigued, Britney allowed herself a stolen glance at his work. The charcoal sketch depicted the scene before them, the park bathed in sunlight, the vibrant city skyline in the distance. It captured the essence of the place with a skill that surprised her. A blush crept up her neck as she realized she'd been staring. The young man finally looked up, catching her gaze. His smile widened, dispelling any potential awkwardness.
Beautiful spot, isn't it?
He said, his voice warm and inviting. Britney, momentarily speechless, could only offer a hesitant nod. The unexpected interaction threw her off balance. She wasn't used to talking to strangers, especially not one who could so effortlessly translate the world around them into art. Taking a deep breath, she mumbled a greeting.
Hi, I'm Britney.
Josh,
He replied, extending a hand. A hesitant smile played on her lips as she shook it, a spark of something unexpected flickering in her chest. The park bustled with life around them. Yet in that shared moment under the oak tree, a different kind of energy crackled. The unexpected encounter, born of a chance meeting in a sun-drenched clearing, had the potential to rewrite the narrative of their day, perhaps even their lives. But for now, it remained a silent promise, a chance encounter waiting to unfold. Chapter 7. Hesitant Steps. The encounter at the park lingered in Britney's mind like a half-finished painting. Days turned into weeks, the memory of Josh's kind eyes and gentle smile a constant companion amidst her artistic struggles. The spark of inspiration she craved remained elusive, replaced by a yearning for something she couldn't quite define. One afternoon, drawn by an invisible force, she found herself drawn back to the clearing beneath the oak tree. The familiar scene felt different somehow, imbued with the memory of their encounter. Disappointment tugged at her heart when she found the spot empty. Disheartened, she was about to leave when a rustle in the bushes caught her attention. There, emerging from the foliage, was Josh. He looked surprised, a hint of amusement dancing in his eyes. Holding up a half-finished drawing, he said.
small world, isn't it?
Britney felt a warmth creep up her cheeks.
I just needed a change of scenery.
She stammered, her voice tripping over itself. They settled on opposite sides of the clearing, a comfortable silence settling between them. This time, Britney found herself stealing glances at his work, captivated by the way his hand danced across the page, effortlessly capturing the essence of a passing butterfly or a bird in flight. Hesitantly, she picked up a brush, dipping it into a vibrant shade of blue. The canvas remained stubbornly blank, the frustration returning. With a sigh, she tossed the brush aside. Sensing her dejection, Josh looked up from his notebook.
Artist's block?
He asked softly. Britney nodded, surprised by his understanding.
It's been brutal.
She admitted.
Sometimes, stepping away from the canvas helps. See the world with fresh eyes.
He gestured towards the park, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the grass. Britney considered his words. Maybe he was right. They spent the rest of the afternoon exploring the park, their paths winding through hidden gardens and sun-dappled trails. They didn't talk much, yet a comfortable companionship blossomed between them. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, they found themselves back at the clearing. A sense of melancholy hung in the air as they both acknowledged the approaching end of their afternoon together. Gathering his belongings, Josh hesitated.
Would you like to do this again sometime?
He asked, his voice tinged with a hope that mirrored her own. Britney's heart skipped a beat.
I'd like that.
She whispered, a smile tugging at the corner of her lips. As they walked away in opposite directions, the setting sun cast long shadows, blurring the lines between their paths. Their relationship, like the fading light, remained uncertain, a series of hesitant steps towards something yet unknown. Chapter 8. Unveiling of Scars. Weeks turned into months, the park clearing becoming their sanctuary. Their visits were a rhythm etched into their lives, shared picnics under the oak, stolen moments during lunch breaks spent sketching side by side, and quiet walks filled with a comfortable silence punctuated by bursts of laughter. Britney found her artistic block slowly dissolving under Josh's gentle encouragement and unspoken understanding. His own talent, unassuming yet profound, pushed her to challenge herself, to explore new techniques and emotions on the canvas. One breezy afternoon, as they sat sketching the vibrant autumn foliage, a shadow flickered across Josh's face. His usual easy smile faded, replaced by a fleeting glimpse of hidden melancholy. Britney, attuned to his subtle shifts in mood, couldn't help but notice. Hesitantly, she placed a hand on his arm, the warmth of her touch a silent question. Josh met her gaze, a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. After a long moment, he sighed.
There's something you should know.
he said, his voice low. A knot of apprehension formed in Britney's stomach. She didn't know what secrets Josh might be harboring, but a fierce protectiveness surged within her. Taking a deep breath, Josh began to speak. He talked about a past accident, a blur of screeching metal and searing pain. He spoke of months of recovery, his dreams of becoming a professional musician shattered by a cruel twist of fate. The vibrant life he once envisioned replaced by a constant ache in his leg, a stark reminder of what he'd lost. Britney listened intently, her heart heavy with empathy. The carefree young man she'd come to know carried invisible scars, a strength beneath the surface she hadn't realized existed. As he finished his story, a heavy silence settled between them. Then, hesitantly, Britney reached out, her fingers tracing the faint outline of a scar peeking out from beneath Josh's rolled-up pants leg. Her touch was a silent acknowledgement of his pain, a promise of understanding. Josh flinched at first, then relaxed into her touch. He looked at her, his eyes filled with a newfound vulnerability. In that moment, something shifted between them. The unspoken bond deepened, a shared vulnerability forging a connection stronger than words. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues. As they walked away from the park that evening, their steps were lighter, a newfound understanding coloring their connection. They had begun to unveil the scars they both carried, a testament to the past but not a definition of their future. The path ahead, though still uncertain, held the promise of a deeper connection, built on shared experiences and a newfound appreciation for each other's resilience. Chapter 9. Breaking Barriers. The accident remained a shadow in Josh's eyes, a flicker of pain lingering whenever his gaze drifted towards his leg. Yet, a change had begun to take root. Britney's unwavering support, her gentle touch, and the quiet companionship they shared chipped away at the walls he'd built around himself. One crisp autumn afternoon, as they sat by their usual spot, a flyer for a local music festival caught Josh's eye. His gaze lingered on the image of a band performing on stage, a spark of longing flickering in his eyes. Britney noticed his reaction, a question forming in her own gaze. Josh sighed, crumpling the flyer in his hand.
I used to dream of playing on a stage like that.
He confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Britney's heart ached for him. She knew the pain of dreams deferred, the frustration of a passion silenced. But she also saw a flicker of something else, a spark of hope hesitantly rekindled. Taking a deep breath, she grabbed his hand, her touch a silent encouragement.
Maybe it's not too late to dream again,
She said softly. Josh looked at her, a flicker of surprise followed by a slow smile. They spent the next few days researching music therapy programs, exploring ways for Josh to rekindle his passion without the physical limitations of playing an instrument. The search led them to a local community center offering classes in music composition. The thought of creating music that others could enjoy, even if not through playing an instrument, sparked a new light in Josh's eyes. On the day of the first class, Josh remained hesitant, but by his side, Britney offered unwavering support. Her presence, a constant source of strength and encouragement, gave him the courage to walk through the doors. The class, filled with aspiring musicians and music lovers, welcomed Josh with open arms. As he explored the world of music composition, a sense of purpose bloomed within him. He poured his emotions, his struggles, and his newfound joy into the music he created, finding a new way to express himself. One evening, as they walked home from class, hand in hand, Josh stopped abruptly. Turning to Britney, he looked at her with newfound confidence.
Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't.
He said, his voice thick with emotion. Britney smiled, her heart brimming with warmth, her touch lingering on his hand. In that quiet moment, under the starlit sky, they knew they had crossed a significant barrier. Josh had begun to trust Britney with the vulnerabilities he'd kept hidden for so long. Their connection, built on shared experiences and unwavering support, had blossomed into something deeper, a bond that promised an unshakable foundation for whatever the future held. Chapter 10. Seeds of Doubt. The newfound trust and shared passion that bloomed between Britney and Josh was a vibrant tapestry woven through their days. But as with any beautiful creation, external forces threatened to unravel its threads. One sunny afternoon, as they basked in the afterglow of a particularly productive music composition session, a familiar figure emerged from the trees. It was Emily, Britney's best friend since childhood. Her usually cheerful expression was clouded with a mix of concern and disapproval.
Britney, there you are!
Emily exclaimed, her eyes flitting between them.
I've been looking everywhere for you.
A pang of apprehension shot through Britney. Emily's disapproval of Josh, fueled by a long-held belief that Britney deserved a successful partner, had always been a simmering tension in their friendship.
Hey, Emily.
Britney said, her voice strained.
This is Josh.
Emily offered a tight smile, her gaze lingering on Josh's leg, a flicker of pity quickly masked by a forced cheer. The rest of the afternoon was strained. Emily's pointed remarks about Josh's career prospects and his limitations hung heavy in the air. Britney found herself caught between loyalty and a fierce protectiveness of Josh. When Emily finally left, the cheerful atmosphere they'd shared earlier vanished. A heavy silence settled between them, a physical manifestation of the seeds of doubt Emily had sown. Britney stole a glance at Josh, his face a mask of stoicism. She could see the hurt flickering in his eyes, a reflection of the doubts Emily had so carelessly planted.
Don't listen to her.
Don't listen to her.
Britney said softly, reaching for his hand. Josh squeezed her hand back, his expression unreadable.
It's okay. Maybe she has a point.
He said, his voice strained. Britney's heart sank. Years of friendship, of unwavering support, seemed to crumble under the weight of Emily's words. The vibrant tapestry of their relationship was now marred by threads of doubt, threatening to unravel the bond they'd so carefully built. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the park, they walked away in silence. The future, once filled with promise, now felt clouded with uncertainty. Britney knew she had a decision to make: stand by Josh and their connection, or let the seeds of doubt take root, potentially fracturing the most important relationship in her life. Chapter 11. The Choice. The weight of Emily's words hung heavy in the air long after she left. Britney watched Josh, his usual easy smile replaced by a contemplative frown. The doubt planted by her friend had burrowed deep, twisting the vibrant tapestry of their connection. Days turned into a tense silence. The park clearing, once a haven for shared dreams and laughter, now felt heavy with unspoken emotions. Britney saw the struggle in Josh's eyes, the fear of not being enough battling with the nascent love he felt for her. One afternoon, while supposedly engrossed in their art, Josh abruptly put down his pencil. His gaze drifted towards the bustling city skyline, a symbol of the life he once envisioned and the limitations his injury imposed. Britney knew what haunted him: the fear of being a burden, of holding her back from a better future. She longed to reach out, to assure him that his love, his strength in the face of adversity, was what truly mattered. But the words wouldn't come. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of orange and purple. The park, usually teeming with life, seemed to hold its breath, mirroring the unspoken tension between them. Finally, Josh stood up, his silhouette stark against the twilight sky. A wave of panic washed over Britney. Was he leaving? Was this their goodbye? He turned towards her, his expression unreadable. In that moment, a million unspoken emotions hung in the air: love, fear, doubt, and a desperate plea for understanding. He took a deep breath, his hand reaching out to brush a stray strand of hair from her face. The touch, a silent communication, spoke volumes. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away. Britney watched him go, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. The choice, she realized, wasn't hers to make. It was Josh who had to decide, to succumb to the fear or embrace the love they had built together. As the last rays of sunlight faded, leaving the park shrouded in darkness, Britney stood alone, the future as uncertain as the shadows that surrounded her. The tapestry of their relationship, once vibrant and full of promise, lay in tatters. Only time would tell if they could mend it, thread by thread, or if the seeds of doubt would have the final say. Chapter 12. forever love. Days bled into weeks, the silence between Britney and Josh a heavy weight in their hearts. The park clearing, once a sanctuary, remained deserted. Britney continued to paint, but the vibrant hues had been replaced by a dull ache of melancholy. One crisp autumn morning, a melody drifted through her window. It was a hauntingly beautiful composition, filled with a bittersweet yearning that resonated deep within her. A spark of recognition ignited. It was Josh's music, a testament to the emotions swirling within him. Intrigued, Britney followed the music, its notes leading her to a local music venue. Stepping inside, she saw Josh on stage, a nervous energy radiating from him. But as he began to play, a transformation occurred. The music flowed from him effortlessly, a cascade of emotions, the pain of doubt, the resilience of hope, and a love that refused to be silenced. As the final notes faded, the room erupted in applause. But it was Josh's eyes, searching the crowd, that landed on Britney. A wave of relief washed over him, a silent apology conveyed through their shared gaze. He rushed off the stage, his path a determined stride towards her. Reaching her, he took her hands in his eyes filled with a newfound resolve. No words were needed. The music, the shared silence, and the yearning in their eyes spoke volumes. Later that day, back in their familiar clearing beneath the oak tree, they sat in comfortable silence. The park, once a witness to their unspoken doubts, now echoed with the quiet hum of reconciliation. Josh, his hand gently tracing the outline of a scar on Britney's arm, a childhood injury long forgotten, looked at her with a tender smile. The scar, once a symbol of vulnerability, became a testament to their shared understanding. Britney returned his smile, her heart brimming with love. They had faced their demons, navigated the treacherous waters of doubt, and emerged stronger, their bond reforged in the fire of adversity. The sun, a warm orb in the clear blue sky, cast its golden light upon them. The vibrant tapestry of their relationship, once marred by doubt, was now being meticulously mended, thread by thread, stronger and more beautiful than before. As they leaned in for a kiss, the melody of Josh's music echoed in the distance, a constant reminder of the challenges they had overcome and the unwavering love that had guided them through it all. The future stretched before them, filled with the promise of forever, a testament to the enduring power of love and acceptance.